This stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real. It's all about the final stage now. There's just one more race, one more battle of 30 minutes to decide one winner. It's a battle between two at the very top. One who has been commandeering victories left, right, and centre. The other has been the consistency man, just picking up the casual points and the podiums here and there. We're at the Nurburgring. It's the final round of your Assetto Corsa Competizione World Pro Racing Sprint Championship. And it's here live and uninterrupted on TVM Sport, on ESTV, the Esports Television Network, and on motorsport.tv, as well as on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch as well. My name's Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Kieran McGinley. We got Nathan Vella and Justin Mifsud in on the cameras. We would normally, traditionally, have Nathan Mifsud here along with us for the ride to help us get through. But unfortunately for us today, the event is dedicated to Nathan, who's gone through with a major operation. So he'll be hopefully watching from the hospital bed and having a whole lot of fun with this action in the very end. Get well soon, my friend. But Kieran, it's about this championship now. It's a very, very simple picture that we paint going into this one. If Nola wins, it's very simple. Top 5 gets it done for Red One Messaoud.
Absolutely. And good evening, everybody. Welcome along to the stream for this series battle for this title. And of course, there is a lot on the line as we head into the final race at the Nurburgring. And as we were discussing beforehand, Jake, it's very quite linear how it all works here. Jack Noller's got to finish on the podium to have a chance of getting that championship victory. He finds himself 24 points behind. So he's really in a world of trouble at the moment. What he's got to do is just put in the best performance he can. Best case scenario, a win. However, as you rightly said, all Redwan Messaoud has to do is finish in the top 5 and he will be the series champion. So a lot riding on both drivers at the moment, but they've shown us consistently that they can handle the pressure. They've got the pace. Should be a good one.
Absolutely should, and we'll be seeing that in the next few moments with practice that'll be going on. That'll be for about 15 minutes before we get ourselves into 15 minutes worth of qualifying, and then we get that half an hour race, which really does separate the men from the boys. We've got ourselves on the Grand Prix layout here, or shall I say the Beswick layout, because we are taking that final chicane a little bit more aggressively than we would do otherwise with a tight chicane. We've got a more open, more flowing chicane to go through to end the lap. No Nordschleife to touch in terms of this race here today. But Kieran, this Grand Prix circuit plays many homages in certain stages to how this track all tends to work out. So the question does become for these drivers here today, how are they going to find the difficulties and the pitfalls around this track?
It's a free-flowing track. Plenty of hairpins as well meet you at certain points on this track. But it's one of those old-school circuits, isn't it? On the infield, at least, we're not racing on the Nordschleife, or at least not yet anyway. It's a nice flowing circuit. Plenty of undulation to deal with as well, and plenty of corners for the car to really be asked more of what the aero can provide. So you've got to be on the money right from the off. And so many fantastic corners. As we're seeing Luke Whitehead, he's going to tackle this Dunlop curve, which is right at the bottom of the hill. A little bit of undulation and banking towards the apex of the corner to help you carry a little bit more speed through. And then on the exit, it's the long climb up through the Schumacher S here. You dart the car left and then dart it right, and using plenty of curb to try and straight line that S as much as possible as we now head up towards the Michelin and Vorsteiner curves here as we make our way through. And as you can see, plenty of runoff areas, more runoff areas than there were all those years ago, but still that gravel looms on the exit of certain corners.
It certainly does. We're focusing on Luke Whitehead here, car number 6 in 3rd position right now in this practice, and we've been seeing here how drivers want to find themselves with the best possible times and the best conditions. This is the chicane we were talking about. How aggressive do you have to be? That was full opposite lock before heading onto the brakes in through the final corner before attacking here back onto the front stretch. Once again, it's so very easy around this place to make a small mistake and to see a lot of time fall away. This is a surprisingly hilly circuit here, this Nürburgring Grand Prix layout, and it is full of trepidation as one of the first real major works of Hermann Tilke redesigning.
Yeah, and I think this track really does offer plenty of character. As you can see, Luke Whitehead there finding that little bit of opposite lock going in towards that 3rd turn, in towards the Mercedes arena. But, you know, it's a really good track. And, you know, I haven't been here in a long time at this circuit. And even I still remember how good this track can be as we get this helicopter shot from Tiziano Brioni as he now makes his way down towards this Valva line, then towards the forward curve, then that quick left and right. And it's quite long corners as well, so you've got to make sure that the car's set up right, you're patient on the throttle as well, and you're just hitting every single apex you possibly can. Looking at the weather at this moment in time, looks like there's a couple of clouds in the sky. You can see there from the box at the top of the screen. But the most important thing is, Jake, look at that temperature. 29 degrees out on track, but a track temperature of 37. So the drivers really have to adjust their setup so that they can manage those tyre temperatures out there today.
Absolutely, managing the tyre life, having something to be able to attack with is going to be key. And here's something else that's key, Kieran, in terms of the way that we're running this race today. Look at the top 6 here in this practice session. You've got Jack Noller in the McLaren, then you've got Brioni in the Aston Martin, Sheldon Muscat's in the Mercedes, Luke Whitehead's in the Porsche, Urbrick is there in the Lexus, and then you've got Conchabo in the Audi. It's 6 different manufacturers in the top 6.
Take your pick. Any one of them's good. That's what that means. As we just see Tiziano Bruno just in the background getting it a little bit sideways, coming back into the pit lane. But that's a really, really good sign that the cars are this evenly spread out across the field. It means that this Nurburgring track really does offer the strengths and weaknesses of all the cars here today, and it brings them nicely in line and balance all the way through. And as we've seen drivers switch cars halfway through the night where they're not happy with the car in practice, so they switch it for qualifying, which you are allowed to do. You're not constricted, you're not restricted to a certain manufacturer for the entire series. You can jump from car to car however you please at whichever track you like. There is Red One Messaoud, the Frenchman who could be walking away the Sprint Series champion, but he's yet to make his way out onto the track. Looks like today he will be driving the Porsche at the Nurburgring. And there is Dean Vella in the GT Omega RPM Esports McLaren, the number 54 striking blue livery as he makes his way towards that start-finish line. Second highest McLaren so far, and he goes even further up the order. 5th place overall now in this practice session for Dean Vella. And we constantly say, Jake, don't we, watch out for Dean Vella. He's one of those drivers that I think so far in this series has been unlucky not to score any points so far. But at the same time, part of that has been his own downfall.
I'd certainly agree with that sentiment. We have seen a couple penalties come in for Dean Vella. He's had to work incredibly hard for the points that he has got, as there is Sheldon Muscat in 3rd position right now in the Mercedes, looking to try and make that push up the hill towards the next run. Just gets a little bit squirrely there and out of shape over the curb, so has to try and gather that back up before hitting the brakes into the next left here to enter the 3rd sector of the lap. And this is what we've also been seeing here over the course of this season. Drivers looking to try and build up to rounds like this. This has been a short turnaround season. It's been 5 weeks, 5 races. Seems like a lot in a very short space of time. You don't really have that real breathing room to maybe find something again in the setup if you are going to change. It relies very, very heavily on what you can do, and there is a case of finding the Tony Hawk line heading into the final corner, all of the curb through the final section there, and none of the turn-in.
Do you know what? They say prepare for anything in commentary. I was not expecting to hear Tony Hawk corner. That was really beyond my understanding, beyond my control. Anyway, we're seeing here Sheldon Muscat making his way in towards the first hairpin now, and you've got to be careful on the traction. Plenty of track on the left-hand side. As tempting as it is, try and keep away from that curve because it is very, very inviting. It can actually lose your time. Heading now in towards this Mercedes arena on board with the GT Omega RPM Mercedes, as you just got to try and make sure that car steers in. This is where the mechanical grip really comes in that slow speed section, as we now make our way onwards towards Valvoline and Ford now through the left-hander, then through the right, and you can see that the track cams where you can see that little bit of understeer before the car actually then does bite in, a little bit squirrely then on the exit in towards the Ford curve. Now we get our way down the hill then towards the Dunlop curve, and you can see this long hairpin here. So many fans packed into this area, or at least the virtual fans anyway. Hopefully the real fans can come back very, very soon, but it's a great part of the track to make an overtake down at the Dunlop curve. And then you make your way up the hill, climbing up the hill now in towards the Schumacher S, and you can just see a little bit of a lift of the throttle, then flat out through the second part of the Schumacher S as we now make our way over the crest and towards the Michelin curve. Plenty of track use on the right hand side. You can see where the track is rubbered in now in towards Vorsteiner, and through that long right hander, use plenty of track on the left hand side to open up the corner as you try and carry as much speed as possible all the way through this quick right hander of Advan. And now we make our way in towards that very quick chicane as you make your way over the crest here. Important to find your braking point. You can see there, around 60 meters before the corner, just a touch of the brakes there, making sure you try and carry as much speed through as possible, and in towards this final corner. You can see they're using plenty of track on the outside, trying to get the apex of the corner, try and carry that speed on the exit. That will be a lap of the Nurburgring on board with Sheldon Muscat. 1:56.6 was that last lap time, and the long lap times here mean that we're probably only... Oh, big moment there for Luke Whitehead, getting it wrong at the final chicane. He's found himself off the track, and whilst I interrupted myself there, it's a long lap time here at the Nurburgring, probably the longest we've seen of the season so far.
Yeah, we're just knocking on the door of 2 minutes, and if you talk about the Nordschleife and the full GSAM-Strecke being an incredibly long 26-kilometre battle around a track, this Grand Prix layout isn't for the faint of heart either. It is still one of the longer circuits that we have on this 5-week calendar, and the work that has to be done to go and get in those times is going to be very key. There is Redouane Messaoud right now in the Ashtois machine right here in 22nd position, but hasn't set a really representative lap. His best time is about 14 seconds off the pace of those at the very, very front. And now you start to wonder here with these sorts of drivers looking to try and save a little bit of something and not put their times out there in practice. Question becomes, who's maybe sandbagging and saving a little bit of time in the back pocket in practice to say, well, I can find something here when it comes to qualifying, and all of that pace that you think you've got at the very top, Mr. Jack Noller, you've not got because I've got more.
Yeah, and it's a common tactic, isn't it? Try and lull your rival and opponent into that false sense of security, and it makes them take it easier until they realise the moment that you've been sandbagging. So it's quite a common tactic, and you'll be surprised how many times it does actually work despite how common it is. But I think Messaoud here will be trying to put in a little bit of a hot lap here. Whilst we're talking about the battle for this championship win, or that series win between Messaoud and Noller, don't forget as well, we have a really intense battle for third place involving the likes of Tiziano Brioni, Luke Whitehead, Pierluca Amato, Jan-Nicolas Erbrich. Jimmy Holm is also in that mix for that third place. And that third place is really important, isn't it, Jake? Because you get a little bit of a prize at the end.
You certainly do get that prize at the end, and Tiziano Brioni holds a 11-point margin over Luke Whitehead in that battle. Brioni currently in second in practice. Luke Whitehead, after his huge moment, is in fourth position at this stage. So they'll be certainly searching for a little bit of times, and those two drivers have been quietly battling against each other from the start of the season that we've seen here, really, Kieran, because we saw how in round one it was all about Whitehead versus Brioni in that battle in the rain at Silverstone.
Yeah, and how quickly a season can change, even in 5 rounds, how quickly it can be turned on its head. I mean, Messaoud scored 8 points at the very first round. Jack Noller scored 9. So since then, they both have not been off the podium. So it's been great to watch them try and battle it through as we watch Jan-Nicolas Erbrich now tackle his way through Wernsteiner curve. Onwards now he goes towards Advan through that long right-hander in the LL Racing Lexus car. But it's been fantastic to watch, and what a circuit we have to finish off this series. We've still got 3 minutes of practice, then we've got 15 minutes of qualifying, followed by that 30 minutes of the race to finally decide once and for all who can be the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series champion. Miguel Neto makes his way now through that quick chicane there as he now makes his way onwards towards the Michelin curve. Making his way through, riding aboard now with Neto in the right motorsports car. Now making his way through Vorsteiner. And now trying to run his way through. You see the drivers use a lot of that curb on the left-hand side to just try and open up the track and try and carry as much speed as possible through the exit of the corner.
And we've seen as well here today that Miguel Neto isn't normally one to go out and change, as Redouane Messaoud, right at the end of the session here, with about 2 minutes to go, puts the car up on the top of the timing stands. Very interesting. But I was going to talk about Miguel Neto here. He's actually changed away from the Aston Martin to the Porsche. So what would be one of the reasons behind that, going to the Porsche? As you can see, nice bit of sponsorship there on the pit wall. They're heading down towards turn number 1. A very tough braking zone because you have to turn and brake at the same time when you first apply the brakes.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, the drivers will have their reasons for switching from car to car, and maybe the shorter wheelbase of the Porsche has been catching Miguel Neto's eyes, wanting to try and get higher than 8th place in the championship. He really is an outside chance, of equaling Tiziano Brioni at the moment. So for 3rd place in the championship, unfortunately, he's not going to get it purely on countback. However, that's not going to stop him from trying to put in a shift here today. There is Luke Whitehead. He's 4th place in the championship, and at the moment finds himself 11 points behind Tiziano Brioni for that 3rd place in the championship, and that is what Luke Whitehead will be focusing on. Unfortunately for him, Tiziano Brioni has already put it into 3rd place in practice so far with just over 60 seconds to go.
Well, let's just have a little look at the times then, because Redouane Messaoud has the fastest 2nd and 3rd sectors out there of anyone. Jack Noller is fractionally faster in the 1st sector, but it is quite telling here to see how those fastest laps have come in on the board and how they stand, it looks like to me it's a case of a battle of tenths and hundredths, where Jack Noller definitely wants to try and find some of that time and piece it all together, but he's trying to do so here in the McLaren 720S, which even at the best of times can be a very, very scary vehicle, Kieran.
It can indeed, and if you're not careful, it will bite back. It's as simple as that. Miguel Nato finds the curbs there, really bumping across them there, but he kept it flat out there. If in doubt, flat out from Miguel Nato as he makes his way around the final corner in the Right Motorsports Porsche, making his way towards the line. Can he improve on 11th place so far? No, 55.4 because of that trip across the curbs there. Checker flag is out then, so we're expecting those times to finish up for free practice to give us an idea of what we can expect in this qualifying session upcoming. Dean Vella has not scored a point all season long. He's currently 9th fastest in practice. Is this the day, Jake, that he can finally get some points on this board at the last round?
Well, it's the last chance that he has, so if he is going to be going up there and finding it, he's got to make sure that he doesn't run into any troubles here today and find himself in a whole world of hurt when it comes to 0 points from a driver who should have been up there, consistently challenging maybe for top 10 in the championship, maybe even top 5 if things fell his way earlier on in the season. But because we are nearing the end of practice, we'll be heading over to qualifying in the next couple of moments' time, and there have been a couple of surprises here in the order of drivers who have done well when it has come to qualifying. The likes, of course, of Jan Ryler up there in 7th position, Ruoff there in 8th place as well. They've both had some really good practice efforts, but now it's all about turning attentions to qualifying. And I think the real key here that we've seen over the course of this season is that maybe Kieran Redouane Messaoud has been the better driver or the best driver in this field when it has come to 1 lap pace. And if you can't beat someone over 1 lap pace, you have to do so in the race when you have no strategy to play with, because tyres aren't a thing. You don't need to come down in and make any pit stops on the fuel either. So it becomes a straight up dogfight in a championship like this. Person who's quickest on the stopwatch tends to win.
Yeah, and it has worked out that way so far. Redouane Messaoud, over the 4 rounds so far, he's won 3 of them, so he's clearly got the pace there to deal with it. Jack Noller not finished off the podium since that 9 points he scored at the very first round at Silverstone, and it brings this championship to 24 points. And as we've already touched on these championship implications, maybe, Jake, it's worth going through what Jack Noller needs to do to have a chance, an outside chance, of winning this series.
Well, we definitely do know that Jack Noller must finish inside the top 3 here today to pick up this championship. He won't have enough points if he finishes anywhere under position number 4 in this championship. But if Jack Noller can find himself his first win of the season, Redouane Messaoud's job is very simple. He must finish inside the top 5 in this championship or in this final race, and he will get himself the victory overall in the championship. If Jack Noller can't find another victory, he gets himself his second place finish of the season. He's relying on Redouane Messaoud to have his worst finish of the season so far to date. A 10th place finish for Redouane would be enough, so 11th or worse would be the way forward. And then very much the case right now for one Mr. Jack Noller. He can only manage his third place of the season. There is one thing and one thing he needs, and that is no points for Redouane Messaoud in this 23-24 car field. He must finish 15th or higher, Redouane Messaoud. Because of countback, he has more wins than Jack Noller this season to keep himself in with a chance. Redouane's got the easy job here today. Jack Noller knows he needs fate to intervene a little bit in this one. He is going to have himself that opportunity to move forward. And Kieran, when it comes to qualifying, this is the first place where we start to see fate. Good times now mean better times later.
Absolutely, and we're here at the Nurburgring where we're expecting those lap times to maybe dip into the 55s and maybe, if we're lucky, into the 54s, but that's going to be a huge lap time if you're going to get into the 54s. Meanwhile, then you can see Jack Noller trying to get his way around the track and starting a brand new lap time. There's Jan Ryler, who is out there in the Audi, the treble 3 R3 Racing Audi, as he now makes his way through that long right-hander as he just tries to get some last-minute heat into those tyres. And track temperature has cooled since we came from practice. So that might allow the drivers to push a little bit harder on these tyres. But as you can see from, well, the wind, there really isn't any out there. No kilometres an hour is normally a good sign, because now the drivers can really understand that the cars will not have any sudden changes in terms of the aerodynamics. There's no headwind they're going against, but there's no tailwind helping them either. So it's a pretty stable, standard setup. Very nice indeed to drive in.
Absolutely, and this is all about a good run in qualifying. This is Tiziano Brioni then in the Aston Martin, looking to attack here down at the bottom half of the circuit. The carousel-esque, or the carousel-inspired corner here right now. This one here, the Dunlop curb. This is a very tough corner to get right. You can see he diamonds off the corner, trying to attack the exit as much as he possibly can, because this run up the hill is a real time cruncher if you can't get a run out of the Dunlop curve. And you can see goes over the curves quite nicely, and now it's all about picking your marker on the right hand side. You don't have much to work with. Uses the 100-meter board quite nicely. You can really go out aggressive over that inside curve, and we've seen that from Brioni time and time again. He's been someone who does like to be up there at the top of the timing stands, does like to be racing for race wins overall. Controversially lost his race win last time out when it came to the battle he had with one Mr. Redwan Messaoud. It was sorted out in the steward's office after the race. So here's the attack through the final corner, gets nice into the centre of the track to attack as close to that Armco barrier on the right-hand side as possible. And this is the drive to the line where we start seeing times come up on the board. Brioni only manages second on a 53.8. Luke Whitehead currently finds himself with the fastest time of anybody here in qualifying.
Yes, and that's going to help him. He's going to try and secure this third place here tonight. And obviously third place does mean that lovely prize you get to take home with you, as Luke Whitehead finds himself at the top of the standings. And Stromae comes across the line, last lap time of a 58.2, which will put him down the order very slightly. But there's no point going through who's where at the moment, because they're all changing left, right and centre. But there's your provisional pole sitter at this moment in time, Luke Whitehead, driving for the Luke Whitehead LWR Porsche there. So he's driving for himself, his own team out there, as he heads his way down towards the Dunlop curve. And this is his chance, really. Fourth place in the championship. He finds himself 11 points behind the driver who's currently behind him in the standings, in Tiziano Brioni. That's going to be a battle for third place in this championship. Jan-Niklas Erbrick has a chance, as well as Jimmy Holm. Miguel Neto, well, he has a chance to get fourth place, but he can't get third due to that countback that he would have to get. He would have to win the race, and for Tiziano Brioni not to finish, and for other results to go his way as well. So he really has the least amount of chance of getting that coveted third place in the series. However, there's plenty of battles to have up and down the order, but qualifying will have to be the first step to trying to decide who on earth will start where. Brioni second place, Jack Noller in third, Sheldon Muscat is in fourth place, Bel Hassan is in fifth, Erbrick sixth, Neto in seventh place, Dean Veller in eighth, Ruoff in ninth, and Dobes rounds out the top 10.
And we are starting to see those times coming in on the board right now as Luke Whitehead looks for improvement. He won't find it. Jack Noller is purple in the middle sector, but Brioni, 53.730. He moves up then by nearly a tenth of a second clear of Luke Whitehead, puts the Aston Martin up the top. But there's the championship leader leading by example. Car number 2 up in pole position right now, 153.556. That is 2/10 clear of anybody else at this moment in time, and that is a really worrying 2/10 of a second clear that Red One finds himself. He knows he's got himself the control at this stage, but now he's got to play what he's done all qualifying sessions long. Defend it from the front, and if anybody else gets close, well, you set the bar, you jump, you shout hi, hi afterwards.
Well, that's a good strategy at least, but Redwan Messaoud has still got 8 minutes and 20 seconds of qualifying. If he wants to try and find an improvement, we know he can pull out a lap time out of the bag. Jack Noller, though, finds himself in fourth place. There's Sheldon Muscat now making his way through the Ford curve and now onwards towards the Dunlop curve down at the bottom of the hill. Fifth place for him so far. He currently finds himself a little bit further down the championship than maybe he'd like. Ninth place for him in the championship at the moment, but he can get himself up up the order. He's got Miguel Neto up ahead of him in 8th place, 2 points behind him. And then he's got the likes of Jimmy Holm and Jan-Niklas Erbrich, who find themselves, Erbrich and Holm, on the same amount of points. And if you're liking the action so far, make sure to head over to worldproracing.com and join the community. We have races and championships on PC and PS4 throughout the league, and no matter what your ability, there'll be an event for you. Head over there and give World Pro Racing a check out. Jack Noller then makes his way around the final corner, and can he find an improvement on his 53.9 as he makes his way in the GT Omega RPM McLaren heading towards that start finish line? Is this going to be the improvement for the number 36? It is, to a 53.7. It's only good enough though for a place on the front row, more specifically for 2nd place.
But crucially, if he is on the front row, he's got the prime pickings to challenge Redouane Messaoud, who is on pole position at this moment in time. And we are halfway through qualifying. Sheldon Muscat moves up to 5th on a 54.177. So he is pretty much best of the rest at this stage outside of the top 4. You got Erbrich in 6th. Belhassan is now down to 7th. Max Vaffel, good qualifying so far from him. He's in 8th. Dean Bella 9th. And it is Miguel Neto who is rounding out the top 10 at the moment. But we are getting drivers thinking about coming in, getting themselves a new fresh set of tyres and going out and attacking. But this is another key to the qualifying session that we see right now here, Kieran, because you're seeing all of these drivers trying to get themselves out there, trying to set a good lap time, maybe on lap 1, maybe on lap 2 when the tyres get fully integrated in with the circuit. But this is a 15-minute session, and you're doing nearly 2-minute laps. So maybe where you'd have 3 or 4 cycles somewhere else in the calendar, like a Brands Hatch or a Zandvoort, for example, you're only getting really 2 cycles to go out there and attack when it comes to this. Maybe a third if your second cycle doesn't go well here at the Nurburgring.
Yeah, and of course that adds a little bit more pressure because you have fewer opportunities to get yourself up the order. Here comes Durbis then across the line in front of his home crowd. 55.6 from the JD Racing Mercedes puts him in 14th place. There's Adam Plivac in the McLaren, the number 15 Team Plivac McLaren, the number 421. In 15th at this moment in time. Still will be a point scoring position, of course. The top 15 will be point scorers in the race. No points on offer in qualifying, however. It will be personal pride that will take over for there for sure. But just over 5 minutes to go. Messaoud finds himself on provisional pole position with Jack Noller in 2nd. Tiziano Brione rounds out the top 3. Muscat is really attacking whatever track he can find out there to try and find that time. But did he push it a little bit too hard and lose that time that he was going to gain? He heads across the line right now. No, proved me wrong. Shut me up as well. 54.1 from him. It doesn't improve on his position, but it does improve on his lap time.
Found a few hundredths and thousandths of a second. It's almost like he walked into a street shop and found that jar. But at this stage, you've got Hamza Belhassan in 7th position on a 54.5, his best right now in the Audi, leading Audi in this field. He's got Ryler and Conchabo also in Audis to try and help out the proceedings as well as he makes the run down the hill towards the hairpin corner of the Dunlop, the carousel-esque style corner. They would call it a carousel actually in the United States of America because of the nature of the turn. But at this stage, up the hill comes Hamza Belhassan, and really Redouane Messaoud could do with his Ashtois teammate here getting himself up close enough to maybe be a little bit of help when it comes to this championship, get somewhere closer to Jack Noller.
Yeah, and he would have been up the order at the last race as well, but he had a couple of incidents which set him back in the field, so he'll be hoping for a cleaner race this time around. Currently 7th place in that Treble 8 Ashtois Racing Audi as he now makes his way up towards that final chicane and flying through here, 3rd gear, trying to keep the power in and trying to make sure that the car sticks to the ground as much as possible. Down into 2nd for this long hairpin, and now opening up the corner onto the start-finish straight. Belhassan now makes his way across the line, but where will he go? He will go P6 with a 54.2, so it puts him onto the 3rd row of the grid, improvement of 1 place.
Yep, that's Jan-Niklas Erbrich who he jumps up forward. He now is on the 3rd row with Sheldon Scott Muscat here. Now what's key is who's got purple sectors where. Luke Whitehead is the fastest in the 1st sector. Redouane Messaoud's got the middle sector, and then it's Tiziano Brione who is actually the quickest. in the final sector of the lap. So that's where you'll start to see all those gains and losses coming in terms of the timing stands for all of these drivers, but they got themselves 3 minutes now to figure this out. If you're on track now, you've got 2 laps to figure this out. And so you now start to wonder here with these drivers, you need to probably get out on track now, or you're not going to have that opportunity to go out there, set a representative flying time, and get yourself in the best possible position, as there is Redwan Messaoud, probably coming out on an outlap right now, trying to give himself a run, unless this is an attacking run, which he's looking for at this stage.
Yeah, it's going to be an important next 2.5 minutes for Messaoud and Jack Noller as they try and put in one more fast lap, maybe 1 or 2 more fast laps to try and get themselves as further up the order as they possibly can. For Messaoud, he can't go further up the order, but he can improve on his lap time. And we know time after time, just when we think Messaoud has done the fastest he possibly can, he pulls out an extra 2 tenths like it's absolutely nothing and puts it on show, puts it on display. So never rule out this Ashton driver. He knows where the pace lies and he knows when to deploy it as well. Jack Noller currently 2nd place, and of course the top 2 championship rivals starting 1 and 2. That's good news for Messaoud, not so great news for Jack Noller.
No, he'll be relying on the likes of Brioni and Whitehead to get into the mix and maybe have to play some of those tactics if he can get ahead. That's the crucial factor, though. Jack Noller's got to get ahead of Redwan Messaoud. If he can't finish ahead of him, that's it. It's championship over immediately on the spot. So with 1.5 minutes left to go, Redwan Messaoud is going to be searching for more time and to give himself more security at this stage to go through. And in fact, he's just attacked way too much. Gets a huge drift. He'll try and gather that back up. He has a chance to attack. Jack Noller here is out there. He's got himself a 54.3 as a banker outlap. That's not going to be good enough. 53.7 is best right now, but he's got one big opportunity here. This is his final lap.
Yeah, and I think Messaoud there would have improved on that lap time had he kept it together through that final chicane, but he just attacked it too much, and any time that he gained, he instantly lost and then some. So that's a lifeline for Jack Noller. That's a warning shot as well, that he needs to find more time, because Messaoud is finding more time out there as well in towards the last 40 seconds of qualifying. This is going to be a real shootout here. Messaoud has found his way back to the pits, so he will not be completing his lap time. This is up now to Jack Noller to try and find any sort of pace, any sort of 1/10 of a second that can maybe help him onto that provisional pole position. The question is, Jay, can he do it?
Well, he understeered through Valvoline a little bit. He has to be careful about that. There's double waved yellows coming into this next section. That will be distracting, trying to see which vehicle it is that's off the road. The green flags are there again, so he's able to attack now up through the Schumacher S. It's a big lap time. Qualifying is about to expire right now, and it's all about Jack Noller's time. Tiziano Brioni can improve. So could Luke Whitehead if they find the times. Bel Hassan has jumped up into 5th place. He's faster now than Sheldon Scott Muscat, but there is still that opportunity to attack. Opposite lock through the Vorsteiner curve. That's not going to be helping Jack Noller here, who's having to really fight against this McLaren coming up the hill now through Ad Van Bogen and towards that NGK, which is the big chicane where you have to be aggressive. We've seen drivers over the grass trying to get a really strong run of things. That's very pedestrian in comparison, but it was smooth and it was clinical. That was the key with that Ferrari. Through the final corner comes Jack Noller. Has he got anything more to challenge here for pole position? It's a 54.5 to beat, and he finds himself with a 53.6. There's not good enough. A 53.5 was needs beaten. He found a 10th, but it wasn't enough. Tiziano Brioni, though, could spoil the party. He won the first round of the championship. You could argue on track that he won the 4th round at Zandvoort, and he's been desperately unlucky in certain spades. So now, through that final chicane, has he got more? Can he upset the top 2 in the championship here and really put a thorn in the side of every competitor here today? He'll make a charge in the Aston Martin, hoping that it's going to be enough over the line, and he poles it. 53.517. Do not ever count out Tiziano Brioni.
What a lap time from the Italian. Great stuff from him. He puts it on pole position like it's the easiest thing in the world. Absolutely brilliant from Brioni. He will grab that pole position with both hands. Fantastic lap time from him there. Brilliant stuff. So he will start ahead of Redwan Messaoud with Jack Noller in 3rd place. And look at that. just under 400ths of a second, the gap between Tizione and Redouane Messaoud. And if there ever was a spanner thrown into the works, it was Brioni putting it on pole, because now that puts it into perspective. Messaoud is going to have to try and battle the Italian at the top of the field to try and make his way through. Remember, he only needs a top 5 finish, and he will be guaranteed to finish at the top of this series. For Jack Nolla, meanwhile, there's a lifeline now, because it means that there's a potential that Messaoud has to battle Tizione Brioni ahead of him. That could bring him into play, and if he plays his cards right, he could be ahead of them both. But it's going to be an interesting turn one. It's almost like a hairpin, wide through the middle of the corner. Then it narrows up as you head in towards that second corner in the Mercedes arena. So you've got to play it safe there. Expect a little bit of bump and draft in towards that second corner because of how much it narrows. But yeah, play your cards right. You might get yourself a good position.
Well, the big issue right now for Jack Nolla is he's got to look at where he is. He's in third position. He's got Brioni and Messaoud, the only race winners so far this season, in front of him. And he's been a consistency driver who's consistently put himself close, but not enough to get a race win. The issue he's got is that Redouane Messaoud doesn't have to battle. He doesn't have to go and attack for that race win. Second place is enough to give him that championship. He can happily sit behind and give Tiziano Brioni his second win of the season. The key here for Jack Nolla is he's got to be scrappy like a Yorkshire Terrier. He's got to be really up in there and attacking early to really unsettle Redouane Messaoud, to start seeing the uncharacteristic mistakes. That's where we see. So Brioni on pole position, Messaoud second, and it's Nolla and Whitehead on the second row. It's Hazma Belhassan there, or Hans Belhassan in fifth, Sheldon Muscat in sixth, with Jan-Nicolas Urbrecht in seventh, and Max Waffel in eighth place. Dean Vella and Miguel Neto make the top 10. Then you've got Ruoff and Ryler on row 6. Row 7 sees Plivac with a good qualifying, along with Gergely Kunshaba, the Hungarian. Dobes currently holds 15th and Stramer in 16th. Then you've got Piardi and Hannes, Rassar and Jamsaran, Piametz, Noto and Ligreston make 23. No Jimmy Holm here today. No Pierluca Amato either. So those are going to be interesting battles here as they get on through, as they try and work out how to really work the tyres up. And you'll see this from all of these drivers. They'll be aggressive here as they move forward, and then they'll jam on the brakes, trying to get some heat into the tyres early. And this is where you start wondering who's got what. It's the final race, the final 30 minutes to figure this one out. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ourselves ready. Let's get ourselves in for action. The green flag drops, and let's get ourselves underway. You can see already Whitehead's got an absolute stormer. He's looking at the outside. 3 drive-through penalties for speeding. Ruoff, Plivac, Dobes all get drive-throughs as they go on the brakes into turn 1. Brioni takes the big wide line, blocks the door there on that driver, and now we just cut away from those at the front. 3 wide, they go through the middle, and it looks like they've all sorted themselves nicely. Messaoud is there in second. And where are you going, Whitehead? Trying to look for the inside there at turn 4. That one not going to happen, but crucially, Nolla's dropped a place off the start. Whitehead has been really aggressive.
He has, and Nolla will not appreciate that one. He's fallen down the order and finds himself now in 4th place. That's not the start he wanted at all. Tiziano Brioni, meanwhile, got a good start off the line. So did Messaoud, but then you had a great start from Whitehead, who managed to get it the launch absolutely spot on. Try and use the outside line. He's got himself that 3rd place, and he will try and get his way up the order. His focus will be on Tiziano Brioni and trying to grab that 3rd place in the championship. We're watching Dobes here as we see one of the Ferraris trying to go the long way around the outside. That's Hans Hannes trying to make a move there, but I believe that's Piametz on through the Dunlop curve, and they're still going side by side. This time it's Hans Hannes trying to defend from Piardi in the Bentley behind. So instantly the Estonian, we've got a car off. We've got a car off at the top of the Schumacher S. We'll try and figure out who that one is. Meanwhile, Kunshabo here in the Audi runs a little bit too deep in towards the Michelin curve. There's a Mercedes off going through that. I think that was Dobes who finds himself onto the grass there. So a lot going on in these opening lap. In fact, the opening lap of this race. However, Whitehead will be fantastically pleased with that start, finding himself in 3rd place. Urbrecht, meanwhile, in 8th place in the LL Racing Lexus. Meanwhile, this is Legarston. He gets a little bit of opposite lock on there. That was a huge amount of oversteer, but he managed to gather it up in the Lexus and try and gather it in, but that's allowed the Ferrari there of Riboldi to go up the inside.
Yeah, it was also Ruoff, who had had the issue and had the mistake. Plivac is down in on the lane. He's taking his drive-through penalty now for speeding under the formation lap process, but crucially, Tiziano Brioni leads. Redouane Messaoud is there in second position, and there is Luke Whitehead in third place at the moment in the Porsche, having a really, really strong start. But at this moment, here is Silver Piamet, currently trying to pilot here the Aston Martin. He's got a few issues behind. It's Hans Hannes in the Sky Ferrari trying to find a way through, and at this stage, not finding it just yet. But Hannes already now into the points. He's into 15th place, so he'll get one solitary championship point for that at the moment. But my goodness, he wants to double his points from this race.
He does indeed, and Piamet's here. We know he's a good driver at this moment in time, and one of those you are expecting he will get a point at least at some point in this series. It's his last chance to try and grab some points, and this is where he just wants to try and make sure that he's got the experience as well, because he's not long new to Assetto Corsa. He's not long new to World Pro Racing, so he'll just be wanting to get some good races under his belt. Hasn't scored any points so far this season, but what a way it would be to bow out of this championship, scoring your first points of the season right at the very last round. But he's got a long way to go. To be more precise, 26.5 minutes plus the end of whatever lap we are on, so it's a long way, and you don't want to see the likes of Hans Hannes, Marco Piardi in your mirrors. Speaking of in the mirrors, Piardi's trying to go up the inside through Avdan Bogan as we make our way now onwards towards that final chicane. Hans Hannes just manages to hang on, and again, Hans Hannes has to turn attack into defence.
He certainly does. Miguel Neto's under pressure now for 7th place, because that is Jan-Niklas Ulrich there just behind. Mr. Consistency as well in the Lexus. He's been in the Lexus all season long, has Ulrich, and he's thinking about getting close enough to attack. Under braking into turn 1, and it's a wider line by Neto, but Hans Hannes here looking down the inside of Silver Piamet's here, and he's going to pick that one up. No, you're not. You're going to go sailing on forward, and there is going to be the Bentley with a little bit of contact there, and yes, that is going to be Chiardi who gains a place, and then you've got the likes of Rassar and Jamsran, and there's the issues. Both of them go around, and that's 3 piling into each other here at turn 3.
Now, was there contact between the two of them going through the Mercedes arena? Because then Rassar got caught up in an incident that just wasn't his fault. He just was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I think there the Bentley had every right to shut the door on the exit of the hairpin there, because you had Hans Hannes run off the track, or at least run too deep into that very first braking zone. He left it too late, went straight on, so I think the Bentley was more than right to be a little bit aggressive on the exit there. However, of course, I'm not a steward, so I will not be expecting to get that decision right if it is wrong. However, the stewards have informed us that the monitoring on that collision, it's now under investigation, so that will be looked at by our stewards in that box there. They'll be deciding if there's any action needed between the two of them. Miguel Neto, meanwhile, is under pressure from Nicholas as he now makes his way towards the final couple of corners. We've got another car off there. We've got another car off. Was that Riboldi into the wall? No, Riboldi finds his way through. I think it was Ruoff. You're right. It was. Who's lost it at the top of the Schumacher S once again. It's Ruoff yet. He finds himself into the wall yet again in that good time racing car. And are we going to see a replay of what happened there? We are. So he's made his way on the exit of the Dunlop curve. He now makes his way up towards the Schumacher S. So a bit of curb on the outside. Nothing wrong with that. Then he gets onto the curb on the inside, and it's almost like the car just jumps. We've seen plenty of drivers take that line, be that aggressive with the curb, but the car just did not like that one bit. You saw how much it was bouncing around.
Yeah, it's the compression damping there that we see where it all goes wrong. The back wheels just lifting off of the curb, and that effectively means that everyone runs into a few troubles, and we get a little bit of issues. Legreston in 16th. He's got Umberto Noto in the racing green Aston Martin and is not going to get by, so that battle stays the same. The top 4 remains as it has been since the opening lap of this race. Brioni leads, Messaoud second, Whitehead third, and Nolla in 4th position. Here's Jan Ryler in 10th though, and this pack that's forming behind Miguel Neto in 7th position starts to get a little bit rowdy. There's Dean Vella on course at this moment in time to get his first championship point of the season in 11th place in the McLaren, but he's got the likes of Ryler and Vaffel and Ulrich all there, and as we know with trains like these, they can very easily cause troubles when you start getting a little bit too aggressive here. Patience is key in these sorts of battles.
Yeah, absolutely. But he'll be hoping this time around he doesn't get a penalty, because that's bit him on the rear wing several times in this series. So he'll just want to keep it clean. Well, he's looking for a move then on Jan Ryler round the outside in towards, I think that was into Valvoline, and it was... sorry, not into Valvoline, it was Michelin. He got the move done round the outside on entry into the corner, more severe on the brakes and ahead of Kunshaba, who just did not see that coming. Team Vela then is up a position, sorry, on Jan Ryler that was in the Audi, as he's just simply not hanging around. Now moves up to 10th place. Oh, big moment over the curb there as he has to find his way across, and that might give a little bit of an invitation to Ryler once again. Ooh. There is Hans Hannes, who's now got himself a 10-second stop-and-go penalty. Now, I think that was the collision between himself and one of the other cars going through turn 2, as Brione has got himself one as well.
I'd look up top, because that's going to really change things and open up the door. We haven't got confirmation of that 10-second stop-go to Tiziano Brione, whether that one has been a effective in-game, so to speak, penalty, or that's one administered by the stewards, but he does have one at this stage, and we'll have to have a little look at that, and he'll be there sitting, hoping that he can just try and find a little bit of time and break away. It would give Redouane Messaoud the perfect position in this race, the race lead, and that will be something that he'll be focusing on in the not too distant future. You can see those gaps just starting to eke out a little bit. About a second each is what we see at this stage. They go back up the hill, trying to run up from the lowest point on the circuit there down the Dunlop curve, and now through this next section. But Brione's penalty has been rescinded, so therefore it has been applied by error, and that means that he'll be okay then for the next moment, as they'll get it back onto Hans Hannes, which I think was the right way, and now the penalty has been administered properly. But more now on the horizon. Miguel Neto still now just started to break away a little bit from the Lexus there behind, but now you're sitting here at 1/3 distance in this race, and you know that small mistakes like these cost you places in the train, and being at the front sometimes can be the best place.
It can, because you've got that clear air ahead of you. You can focus on your own lines. You've got everyone else behind you who has to then try and compensate for your line. So it is a nice place to be at the front of that train. And I'm telling you right now, Tiziano Brione's reaction time to that penalty will have been through the roof. But it has been administered correctly now to Hans Hannes, who finds himself now down into 19th place with that 10-second stop-and-go penalty. And of course, it involved a driver who just had nothing to do with it, Rassar, who just got clouted through no fault of his own on the exit of turn 2, and found himself around. He's down there in 18th place at the moment in the 690 Nissan. But meanwhile, we've got Urbrick here, who's under a bit of pressure from Vaffel as we make our way through this Mercedes arena.
And Max Vaffel in that AMG Mercedes is looking a little bit nosy and aggressive here, trying to find this move, as it's a battle here as they go through turn 4. This is where you get aggressive, a 90-degree right-hander, which feels like it's so much more than that as a corner by how much you have to attack. And then through the next left, that AMG Mercedes is just struggling a little bit to keep up in a straight line with the Lexus. So through the next right and attacking off the exit, it's really the exits where we're seeing Urbrick just able to pull away a little bit, gain that little bit of a margin, and we haven't really seen too much drop off in terms of that little battle. There's your race leader though, Tiziano Brione, and he's got himself a little bit of company here. It's Redouane Messaoud, and he can't afford here, can Redouane, to be too aggressive with the way he wants to get by here, because Tiziano Brione, we've seen over the likes of Zandvoort, he is one that does like to battle, and we did see it fall afoul like spoiled milk last week.
We did indeed, but Messaoud here knows that he doesn't have to have this race win, but he's a racing driver. Of course he's going to go for the win. This will be race win 4 out of 5 if he can get it, but Brione, we know, will battle for that one till the end of this race, and probably beyond the checkered flag as well. Brione hasn't had a race win this season so far, as that's Miguel Neto who attacks the curb too much, and Urbrick says thank you very much, I'll take that from you, and now moves up into 7th place. Meanwhile, Marco Piardi then is fallen down the field. He's now in 22nd place under pressure from Adam Plivac as we now make our way in towards the Michelin curve. So he might have made a mistake somewhere out there. Meanwhile, Urbrick then now has to defend from Nato in towards the first turn. Nato goes up the inside, but he'll overrun on the exit. That's going to allow Urbrick to try a little bit of a cutback now in towards the second corner and in towards that Mercedes arena. And that is Nato who gets that position back. Nice move there, and that is Urbrick trying to force a move up the inside in towards the third turn. Now we go in towards the fourth turn, and there is Nato still on the inside. Urbrick has to run off the track, but surely he will have to give that position back because he made that overtake off the circuit. Here comes Vaffel looking for a move then down in towards Valvoline, but no way through. And well, Urbrick here, and there's a move down the inside and a little bit of a push there from Vaffel to help him through, to help Nato through, who gets that position back. Now Vaffel is going to have a move down the inside in towards the Dunlop curve, and maybe that's Dean Vella in the background who's licking his lips in anticipation. Through we go in towards that Dunlop curve, and has the Mercedes got the drive? Yes, he has. Max Vaffel moves up a position. Next up is Dean Vella. Can he try and prioritise? Can he try and capitalise on this?
This is such aggressive driving, and every which way you looked for that lap, it was a case of drivers side by side as Riboldi gets overtaken down the inside by Dobesh, who has served a drive-through penalty already in this event. But that was a case, really, of trying to tightrope when you've got two jugs of water going across a field of kettles, it seemed, trying to make sure that nothing ended up getting spoilt out then. So this continues here. Vaffel's under pressure now at this stage as he's not been able to hold on to that place compared to Urbrick. He has dropped the position, and now all of a sudden, here comes Dean Vella again, hoping that he can find a way into 9th position now in this race. He can't quite get there at the moment, but what is key in terms of this is that they have brought those behind back into the scrap, like Jan Ryler, for example, who is now within that 1 second window, will start catching the draft.
He will indeed, and Max Vaffel there, for whatever reason, couldn't quite hold on to that 8th place ahead of Urbrick there, so he's fallen back down to 9th place, and Dean Vella will just be looking to not make any mistakes and not try and overcommit. He's got 10th place. It's a good chance for him to score his first point of the season, riding on board in the cockpit of Max Vaffel as we now make our way into the 4th turn. Now onwards we go towards Valvoline and towards Ford Curve. He's looking for a move up the inside, but you heard him there. Let off the throttle just halfway down that straight. He's not interested to move in towards this first sort of kind of chicane there into Valvoline, and then on the exit of Ford, he'll try and prioritise this one, but you see that the Lexus has a little bit of a run, a little bit of a better run down towards the Dunlop curve, so Max Vaffel there can't find a way through, and also you saw that the Lexus taking a much more defensive line in towards the Dunlop curve and trying to attack and straight line it to the apex to make sure no one tries and sneaks a nose up the inside. And there is Legaiston trying to hold off Umberto Noto. This is for 16th place, so just outside of the points for these two drivers, but I'm sure they'll battle just as hard. And Marco Piardi under pressure from Adam Plivac as they now tackle Valvoline and in towards Ford there. You can see Marco Piardi takes a bit of grass and opened the door up for Adam Plivac. He tried to go up the inside, the door closed, and he just caught the outside of Piardi then, who gives him a disapproving knock between the doors there. He wasn't happy about that one, but Plivac did wait up for him. He let him through, so the stewards may be a little bit more lenient if they decide to have a look at that one.
They certainly will be looking at that. On the brakes they go. Now look at this then for 2nd and 3rd. Whitehead all of a sudden has found a couple of good laps against Redouane Messaoud and finds himself right in line. Jack Noller has dropped off the back of this one in 4th place. He's been unable to stay with Whitehead, who seemingly looks very, very good in mid-race pace at this stage. He's managed to find a setup that works for him and is seemingly unlocking the tyres. And this is what Redouane needs to be careful of. Drivers behind starting to battle. It's been pretty plain sailing for Redouane so far in this race, in this championship decider at the Nurburgring. But he knows it gets a little bit more awkward than that if things run into trouble. There's Conchabo in 12th.
Yeah, as he tries to make his way up the order, and well, he's pretty comfortable in 12th right now, isn't he? He's not got many cars behind him, but all of those cars ahead of him. So he's just in a race of his own at the moment, Kutshabo, looking to try and end this season with a points scoring finish. Hasn't scored in the last 2 races here. So he's looking to try and end this season at least with some points on the board. Marco Piardi then still ahead of Plivac as both of them came together on the last lap, and the stewards are investigating that one between the Bentley and the McLaren. So we'll try and keep you up to date on what the stewards decide for that one as they now make their way on towards the final part of the Mercedes arena. And I'm pretty sure here Piardi's not going to be so lenient in trying to let Plivac through. He'll make it difficult for him for sure.
Absolutely. Miguel Neto still in 7th position, still looking like he's trying to get close enough to run away, but Nurburgring is just staying with him, and that's a little concern. We haven't talked much about Sheldon Muscat and Hamza Belhassan in 5th and 6th, as we do see a 5-second time penalty added on to Adam Plivac. You'll get that added on at the end of the race. There is Sheldon Muscat in 6th, and just in front of him Hamza Belhassan in position number 5. These two are just quietly going about their race, and they've been doing a pretty solid job of things right now. Consistent points, no dramas, no troubles. Here comes Nurburgring thinking about the inside, but he moves to the outside then on the brakes, just trying to take a more natural line and get aggressive on the exit once more, trying to fight for it. But again, it's that run off the exit that Porsche has that's able to just neutralise any attempt.
Yeah, and Nurburgring here is just doing his best to try and see where Neto is losing that time and see if he can try and take advantage of that one as well. This is what you do when you're sat behind the driver and you can't find a way past. You start examining them now. You start trying to figure out where they're not so quick and where you can try and possibly find a way through. So we'll have to see what that battle develops into as we move through the order. But there you go. Plivac has got the move done on Piardi. And 5 seconds on Adam Plivac. And the stewards can confirm that the penalty was reduced because Plivac gave the position back to Piardi in the first place. So the 5 seconds becomes a little bit of a slap on the wrist then for Plivac, but he's got 21st place now. He'll now be trying to focus on getting 5 seconds up the road from that Bentley behind.
Absolutely, and he'll be looking to try and do well. A lot of drivers, though, Kieran, when they do find themselves in a place where they have to study the driver in front, do sometimes get caught in what is known as analysis paralysis, which we see a little bit right now with Jan-Niklas Nurburgring. You get stuck behind a driver, you look like you're quicker, you have every way that you can get through, you know where all the dramas are, as I've just caught an eye on Luke Whitehead dropping miles down the order, and I think that could be technical with the way that Whitehead's dropping. Here's some side-by-side, though, as they go on through, and it's all worked out nicely here for Neto. So Whitehead's had a moment here, has dropped back into 6th place.
Yeah, and that's going to promote Jack Noller up to 3rd place. But for Luke Whitehead, he really wanted to end this one with a podium. Hasn't been on the podium since the very first round at Silverstone. How he would have liked to have bowed out with yet another podium. But when you're running in that top 6 and you make a mistake, you're going to be punished for it. Neto defending the inside line here from Nurburgring as we make our way in towards the first turn. There you can see Nurburgring once again trying a little bit of a cutback now as we head in towards that Mercedes arena. He's going to try it again on the exit of turn 2. Now onwards we go towards turn 3. He's got the inside line but decides to swoop over to the outside, and again he's just trying to find the apex here and focusing on corner exit, whereas you see there Neto is focusing on the racing line. But Nato's doing well here to keep that Lexus behind.
He certainly is, and they are bringing once again Max Waffel into this fight. 7th, 8th and 9th position they go and work for at this moment in time, and we are into the final third now of this race. Just remaining here in this one is those final few laps, about 5 or 6 of them, to try and work out who is going to be finishing where out in this one. Tiziano Brioni does lead. Redouane Messaoud is still not a million miles away in terms of the battle for the race win overall. It would be really nice for Redouane to pick up a championship potentially here by winning the race outright, but Tiziano Brioni will have absolutely none of that, and the question will be, is this going to be racer's instinct, or is this going to be what you'd call the scientist's approach? Just get what you need and get out.
Yeah, he'll be looking for that 4th race win of the season, but we know Brioni, he's going to battle hard for that 1st win of the season. He'll want to end it on a high. Meanwhile, 2nd race win, you're absolutely right. Here comes then the Lexus of Nurburgring trying to move up the inside, but he has to back out of that one because Neto covers it off as Waffel here tries to join in on the fun then as we round our way in towards that final corner once again and onwards towards the start-finish straight. And once again, NATO manages to keep the Lexus behind, and he's doing a good job of that at the moment. Nurburgring will no doubt feel a little bit frustrated. And there you can see Max Vaffel, the Estonian, looking to just try and take advantage. He's just watching on. He's got his popcorn and enjoying what looks to be a great battle while he's stuck in 9th place. There's not a lot he can do until the two ahead of him resolve their battle, if they resolve their battle.
And they also have to be a little bit careful about who they're approaching up onto, because that's Whitehead just in front of them now. So this becomes 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th that they start to work on. So that really does say a lot about what Luke Whitehead's struggling with right now. I reckon he's got some form of damage on the car, which is meaning that he's dropping back into the clutches of those. Look at his last time. It's a 58.9 that he put on the board, and he is maybe struggling. Let's have a look at the steering wheel. Is it going to be dead straight? It is. So maybe he's going to be able to gather those back up again in the distant future, but he's only got 7 minutes to try and hold off those drivers behind. But look at how aggressive on the brakes they start to close up on him. Miguel Nato, they're going to be all over him like a pack of rats.
They really are, as NATO will be sniffing for that 6th place as we now make our way through that Schumacher S. And you can see Whitehead is really struggling. Here comes NATO. Is he going to try and move here? We're going to go 3 wide. We're going to make contact down in towards. We go towards Michelin. And there you see NATO's got the move done. Whitehead goes a bit off the track. And now we head our way in towards Vorsteiner, but good move from NATO. He picked up the pieces there and gets himself into 6th place. Now Nurburgring will be flashing his lights here. You can see how defensive Whitehead is being. He's trying to hang on to every single position he possibly can. We're going 3 wide once again as we head up towards the NGK chicane. Whitehead once again managing to hold on, and the 2 drivers behind very wise to back out of that one. They know they can fight another day, but that's just brought in Dean Vella, and also you've got Jan Ryler as well in 11th place. So this becomes a 5-car battle for 7th place, and Luke Whitehead, who at about 5 minutes ago was looking to try and seal off a podium, now is scrapping for 7th place. Here comes Nurburgring then with a little bit of slipstream down towards the first corner, and you can see there Whitehead hasn't got the straight line speed anymore. Vaffel goes a little bit off the track there because he's trying to slow the car down. He might lose out that position to Dean Vella as we make our way in towards turn 2, but he can go a little bit more defensive and hold on for there so we can recover to battle another day. But look how slow Whitehead's being. There goes Dean Vella, who launches up the inside in towards turn 3. He'll be on the outside for 4, or will he? No, he takes that position away. Dean Vella now is up to 9th place ahead of Max Vaffel, and that row of positions from 7th to 11th is going to shuffle all the way through to the end now.
Absolutely it is, and now you see Luke Whitehead, his championship aspirations falling away. Brioni winning this one at the moment. It's definitely not going to be 3rd place come the end of this one, but he knows he's just got to try and nurse the car home, and he's defending for every place he can. On the brakes they go through. Ryler's gone a little bit too deep there into the side of Max Vaffel, but ultimately doesn't gain any positions or time from that, so I'm pretty sure that that's going to be okay at this stage. But look at how Whitehead struggles here through the high downforce sections of track. He has no confidence in the car anymore, and Vella thinking about the outside. He's done this once already today. He'll try it again, and has he got enough on the exit? Nope, doors firmly shut, so you've got to try the other round the outside. Pick up the run off the exit and have another go to get this one working. We're into the final 5 minutes now here of this race, and this is where you struggle. No straight line speed here for Luke Whitehead. He'll lose 1, and Vaffel's going to come down the outside and pick this one up. He'll take 2 and pretty much say oh hello to one Mr. Dean Vella, and that is both of us through. Now left to battle for 7th and 8th and 9th place at this stage, and this is just a case of, well, how much can you really try and survive in the late stages?
Yeah, and Luke Whitehead's trying to hold on to every position he possibly can. Just to touch on that Jan Ryler incident, just looked like there was a bit of frustration involved in that one, just trying to chuck it down the inside and hoping that he can find the way through, but not quite this time, and a little bit too aggressive for my liking. But Jan Ryler now finds himself in 11th place. He's the next one to try and find a move against Luke Whitehead. It's bringing Conchavo now back into this battle, so he could be on for high points in this end of the season. He's gone for 2 rounds in a row this season with 0 points scored. He'll be wanting to try and finish off this season on a high. 12th place from right now would be 4 points, so it would be a decent haul of points. It's not the highest points he's had this season, but it would be a decent haul of points to end his season, get himself into double figures. That's what he would really want to try and end off his season. What he'd really like is try and get past the likes of Jan Ryler and Luke Whitehead ahead of him. It's not often you get such a quick driver like Luke Whitehead struggling in these positions, and it's one you have to take advantage of.
Absolutely. Luke Whitehead down now into 10th place, and now Dean Vella under pressure here from Max Vaffel, who wants to attack up through the Schumacher. It's very difficult to stay in tandem through this section, but as you attack, you got the great opportunity to draft here. Ryler in the background's trying to go for it. Vaffel's not got it, but around the outside, and again, just that commitment under braking here. Luke Whitehead making his Porsche the widest Porsche this side of the Eiffel Mountains, and he is able to just hold that in place for the time being, as those two in front really do start to walk away here. Vella is about clear of Vaffel, but here's where you've got the chance. The Audi of 1 going through there of what is going to be Ryler, and Gershely Conchabo is going to have to rely on an attack on the exit, but he got a little bit held up there, so he has no room to attack. Can't do it just yet. Maybe a run into 1 might be the key. We're down to the final 2 laps, though, of this race. Tiziano Brioni leads this one in the number 71 Aston Martin from Redouane Messaoud, who, as things stand, is champion if he can just keep it home for another 2 laps.
Yeah, that's going to be the most important thing. And meanwhile, Conchabo having to go round the outside. He actually goes a lot on the brakes there to try and let Luke Whitehead run wide through the corner, but it didn't quite work the way he wanted it to for the Hungarian there. The idea was there, but it just didn't quite work the way he wanted it to. And you can see, trying to look for a move down the inside of turn 3, Luke Whitehead has that one covered as well. And Conchabo here definitely has the ideas behind that. Unfortunately, they're just not coming to fruition the way he wants them to.
Yeah, that's the issue here. He's got the idea, he knows what he wants to do, but he just can't convert on that overtake against a very, very tough machine. Now, Dean Vella again under pressure here. Vaffel right up behind, and will definitely want to dive down the inside if possible, but this is not a traditional way to pass. And he's going to try and attack on the exit of the corner here, stick a nose up the inside, but again, it's that drive off the exit from the McLaren of Dean Vella that gives him just enough to say, I can hold on for the time being. Vaffel will want to attack. It's going to have to be here, though, where he gets the run and makes it happen. That McLaren is doing so well in a straight line.
He really is. He's just doing his best to try and claw on and hang on to this position. Obviously, this will be first points of the season for Dean Vella, and he'll want to try and go and get those points as high as he possibly can towards the end of the season. I believe we've just had Tiziano Brioni cross the start-finish line to start what was the final lap of this race to try and grab win number 2 in this season. But right behind him in Ashtoir, it's Redouane Messaoud, who looking like he wants to try and wrap up this championship. Looking at the last lap times, yeah, he's about 8/10 off, which is pretty normal when you come to a sprint race like this. The tyre wear starts to kick in as you just try and find some grip out there. But Messaoud, as it stands, will be champ.
And there's some side-by-side then as Gershely Conchabo just about gets into 11th position, then moving past Luke Whitehead, who has tried to hold on to all of those positions and ultimately has been unable to do so, as Conchabo has found a way through, and the number 11 is now into 11th place and trying to pull away. But this has been a season really where it's been about least mistakes. We haven't seen mistakes from many drivers. We haven't seen massive accidents out there on circuit, really, that have been the cause of all the troubles. What we have seen this season, though, is some hard-fought battling, and it's been pace where it has been key. We can see Conchabo heading down towards the second sector of the lap. Brioni will be now heading into the final sector to try and end off this season through the Vorsteiner curve. The number 71 has had real opportunities to go out there and challenge. Was the championship leader after round 1, but issues at Barcelona with contact dropped him down the order. Then we saw the issues happen when it came to the likes of Brands Hatch. When it came to Zandvoort, the win was taken away from him. Nobody will be able to take away this one from number 71, who is now securing 3rd place in the championship. Tiziano Brioni is going to come to the line and take the victory, but the lights will flash behind for Redouane Messaoud, who takes the championship with a very good P2 drive. Jack Noller will take a podium, but knew that it was always going to be too much today for a driver who has been so consistent all season long. Hamza Belhassan will take 4th place, so 2 Ashtoir cars. in the top 5. They can be pleased with that. Sheldon Scott Muscat then will round out the top 5 to finish off the racing here today. And Kieran, you have to say Redouane Messaoud has not put a foot wrong. Even in the rain, when he struggled in the Porsche, he technically didn't make mistakes, he just didn't have pace.
Yeah, and he's done a splendid job all season as the Frenchman, and totally and utterly deserves this series win. I'm sure the emotions will be running high there. That top prize is all his, and the moment is his to have a little bit of fun out there as well. I think he'll be enjoying this outlap here. Just a little bit of drifting out there for the Porsche. He knows all that hard work has paid off. What a championship we have had between these two as well. Fair play to Jack Noller. He's got 4 consecutive podiums to round off his season, and it just wasn't quite enough against one of the fastest drivers we've seen in this series in Redouane Messaoud for Ashtoire. Well, he is your series champion, and he'll be holding up his head high to end off what has been a particularly interesting year. But for Redouane Messaoud, he'll be walking away the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series champion.
And well, why wouldn't he in this situation? He can be very happy. He can have what is known as an expression session, some would say. But we do have a driver here ready and willing to talk to us at this stage. Tiziano Brioni, the race winner, joins us right now. And Tiziano, that was a race where really, I think for you, it was plain sailing. Qualifying time late in the day puts you on pole position. You look to try and convert. It's lights to flag for you, and really was never put in a position where you had to go out there and attack.
Yeah, I was able to take the pole position at the last attempt. I did a really good lap, and I tried to push from the first minute, but first corner not so good. I arrived a little bit long, but without any kind of problem. And when I received the penalty, I was a little bit stressed because I didn't understand why, but I was able to regain the focus and finish the race in third position.
Let's talk about that actually at the moment, because it's something that often always seems to get brushed under the carpet when it comes to talking about sim racing or actual racing. When a penalty gets applied in error, how does that change the mindset of you as a driver, and how difficult is it to get back into that groove and that mindset once that penalty is then taken away?
Yeah, basically, when I received the penalty, I didn't understand why, because I arrived, I didn't do any kind of mistake or wrong maneuver. When I saw it, I say more or less 30 times why, because I really didn't understand why. And when race direction removed the penalty, I was a little bit stressed. Even after the penalty cancellation, but in 2 or 3 laps, time to regain the trust and the confidence and the focus, I returned on my times and I returned on my pace.
Well, in terms of the way that you've conducted yourself in this season, you've definitely had the pace in both dry and wet conditions to go out there and pick up victories. Just a couple of results in the mid part of the season, which really just took all of the momentum away from you to give you that attack moving forward. So would you feel that in terms of this championship, you maybe are looking at this going, I've certainly had some great pace to end the season. I've proven that maybe I was a driver who could have been up there fighting for the championship at the final round?
Yeah, honestly, I was really disappointed because I think that we could do a really good fight with Redouane, I think it says. And but I basically had 2 races destroyed by Arquizi. And so that's it. Basically, a lot of disappointment, but so that's it. We take this 3rd final position in the championship, and so we will enjoy the prize, and so that's it.
Well, before we let you go, you do get 3rd place in the championship with this victories. Shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank here, Tiziano?
Yeah, I want to thank my team, most of GD Esports, and especially Mr. Musso that sponsored us, Trustmaster that provide us some new rigs that help us, and EMB Racewear that provide us our t-shirts. And I want to thank all the guys in the team that help me every day. And so I think that that's all.
Tijana Brioni then picks up the race win overall, but it was second place and the championship today for Red One Messaoud. Is stood by with Kieran.
Absolutely, and I get the pleasure of congratulating Red One Messaoud on what has been a pretty good championship. Red One, you are the champion. How does that feel?
I feel good. I feel good. So sorry for my English is very bad. I'm happy to take the second position of the race. It's good. Brioni was too fast for me for keep the pace. I don't want to take any risk, and I finish the line too. It's so good for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk about the race then. Obviously, you came into this one with a strong upper hand, a strong advantage. 24 points you had over Jack Noller. What was your strategy going into this race? Was it to take it easy or just drive as you normally do?
Not take it easy. Never not take it easy in competition. But I had a lot of point about Noller. Yes. So no 100% stress. 70% stress. So it's good.
70%. I like precision. I do like that. But 3 race wins for the season, 4 of them podiums. And at the very start of the season, obviously we had that wet race at Silverstone, and you told us, you jump in the car, you give it a try. Well, you've certainly made us eat our words. How did you find the season?
Very, very nice season. Weather, uh, weather in all track is very good. Rain, it's too hard, but driving in ACC, you must drive in rain. It's an obligation. So very good season for WPR World Pro Racing. I see dedicated Nathan Mifsud this race. So hello Nathan. Good is good. Good.
And after this championship win, what's next for Red One Messaoud?
Next, repeat please. I don't understand.
What's next for you after this championship? Where are you thinking of going next?
I spoil lot of competition in the web, on the Discord, on all platform community ACC website. So I don't have a plan after WPR. So if season 2 WPR, I join.
Well, we look forward to seeing you there if you do join back. And finally, Red One, congratulations on your championship victory. The floor's yours for any shout outs to sponsors or family and friends.
So first, I honored to play with the team H3 Racing. I honored to play ACC. I dedicate my victory for the team H3 Racing. I tell in English now. On the Sorry for Luke Whitehead. He did a mistake. Sorry for him. On the good race for Brioni, good pace, good driver in this championship. So salute. So hello, all driver.
Thanks,
Fantastic.
Urban. I want to congrats to you with for the championship winner, and thanks for the words. And sorry for the intrusion, but I felt to do it.
Oh, fantastic to hear. Thank you, Tiziano. And Red One, fantastic victory on the championship. Go and enjoy yourself. And I've got word that Jake is down with Jack Noller, who's our runner-up in this series. Jake.
I certainly do. Jack, it was always going to be a tall order coming in 24 points back when you've got a driver like Red One putting 3 wins on the bounce. It was going to be always a tough challenge to fight for that championship, but when you put 4 consecutive podiums on the board and you've got yourself 2 third places and 2 second places, there's nothing to shake a stick at. It's still an incredible performance.
Yes, it is, especially after, similar with Masoud, after round 1, we both struggled in the wet. I think ultimately a wrong car choice there paid dividends to results there, but it's nothing to shake your head at. And like you said, it was a big gap coming into this round, but I had an idea, so I chose the McLaren because it was a car that I knew round here, but it was a risk. I had to get in front because it's a car determined by aero. So if you're behind someone, you lose like a second a lap. So once the race started, I started third. I hoped to get to about second, but was on the wrong side of a 3 wide in turn 2, so backed out of it. I knew fourth was enough. If Brioni was to win the race, I would have to be 5th to keep my position in the championship, so I knew fourth was enough. So I thought back off a little bit, save the tyres out of the dirty air in the McLaren to come back towards the end of the race, which did work. I was the fastest of the top 3 in the last 6 minutes of the race, but didn't quite catch them. But congrats to Brioni for a series numbers of wins, and Masoud for the championship. So it's been good racing together and some really good results on my end as well.
Let's talk about the way that this season then has sort of been constructed, because it's been tough in the sense that you have been able to change your car week on week on week, and you've been one of those drivers who have been pioneering that sort of change, finding a different car to different tracks that suits your liking. How difficult is that to maybe sometimes build a setup each week and try and find something different, more rather than trying to build on maybe a philosophy or a car that you already know and you can do throughout 5 weeks that maybe Red One did to pick up the championship?
See, with ACC, the cars are generally close enough for you to specialize in one and drive it throughout the entire time. But because ultimately I haven't had much time in the sim, I've mixed and matched the cars I've been driving over the last half a year. So ultimately, I chose whichever cars I felt most comfortable at that track. So apart from Silverstone, which didn't realize it was raining until I got to the race, so I changed the car quickly. So otherwise I would have chosen the Lexus. But yeah, like you said, we can change cars this championship. It was an advantage for some. I would have happily stuck with one car, but you might as well use what you can. If you're faster in one car at one track, you might as well use it, like the McLaren here.
And let's talk progress as well. You were someone who was very, very consistent over the course of the season. It just looked like to get that top spot, you need an extra couple of tenths around a couple of circuits that would give you that opportunity to push forward. Now that you've got this second place in the back pocket, which is an amazing achievement, how are you now looking at moving forward, your next events that are coming up, and how many positives do you take away from this 5-week championship?
I take a lot of positives away, and not only getting the podiums, which is a great result considering what I was expecting coming in here. 4 podiums out of 5 rounds is very strong results, and it's the consistency as well, and the picking and choosing moments, recognizing what to do. Like, say, Brands Hatch to start, I was starting 4th. I thought, this is not a very good place to be, so I'm making my decision. I will go to the inside, even though ultimately it would cost me a position. I might as well have been starting 5th. But if I stayed on the outside, I would have been caught up with the accident at turn 1, and I wouldn't be here in second in my championship. So it's making decisions, sometimes being cautious, sometimes being aggressive. I feel I'm quite strong with that, and that's shown over this championship. Obviously, good luck is part of it, but I too have had my fair share of bad luck outside of this championship. So It's been a really enjoyable time, and thanks to the commentators and the guys at WPR Racing for hosting such a professional event, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
And hopefully we will see you there. Jack Noller then, third place overall in this race, second place in the championship come towards the end. But Kieran, this is now where we start to bring a close to proceedings here this evening. But what a really entertaining championship. Every round had a little bit of something there which said that this was always going to be hard fought from minute one to minute last.
I mean, you said it rightly there. I mean, it was a fantastic series, fantastic championship. And right from the word go, we still didn't know who our championship rivals were going to be. And in the end, it's been a fantastic watch. I mean, Redouane Messaoud, 3 wins in the series out of 5. Fantastic pace from him, and from all the drivers involved, especially in that top 3, top 4 in the championship, have all been really close together. So it's been absolutely fantastic to watch, and I hope to be joining you again in the commentary box in the near future.
Well, I hope so as well. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes who have helped get this one all sorted out. All the sponsors that you have seen down below as we have been talking it out. Lots of people who have been working hard to make sure that we've got some fantastic facilities that are available to get the streaming moving forward. And of course, to those who have been moving into all of the battles that we have seen and making sure that we got all the cameras in the right places. Of course, we have to give a massive get well soon to Nathan Mifsud, who has been in the hospital bed having a little bit of a watch along with some of the racing that we've done today. And well, we hope that you find yourself with a speedy recovery very soon. The likes, of course, of Adrian Fagayo and George Muscat, the race director and chief stewards, who are both FIA accredited, have done wonders when it has come to the work that they have been doing here behind the scenes, as well as Nathan Vella and Justin Mifsud, who have been on the cameras here today, making sure that everything is all working nice and dandy. From Kieran McGinley and myself, Jake Sperry, it is Redouane Messaoud who finds in the result that pretty much secures a championship outright. A 60% win rate, a 80% podium rate, and only the rain was on the parade in the opening round of this championship. But for those who look to try and have those battles, for those who look to try and get themselves in, you can head over to worldproracing.com to find out more amazing sim racing and whatever platform that you race. But stay with us here as we take us through how this all came to be a championship effort.